Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Tuesday evening to you all. I hope you guys are doing well out there tonight and had yourselves a fantastic day. And I hope everyone has been having a great week out there so far. Here again to give you an update on what's going on with the major Hurricane Beryl. It's still a Category 4 storm. We're going to go over the latest information on what's going on with it right now. We'll talk about the latest from the National Hurricane Center. We'll go over the short-term impacts expected from this storm, some of these hurricane models, and what it's saying for Jamaica. Unfortunately, and I'm not trying to freak anybody out in Jamaica, but I think you guys know already, this is now forecast to make a direct landfall into the southern sections of Jamaica. So things have changed over the last day and a half, so I hope you guys have been staying up to date in Jamaica. This thing looks like it is now going right towards Jamaica. So we're going to really zoom in to Jamaica. We're going to talk about the impacts, take a closer look at wind speed, potential, compare some model guidance, and really just try to help you guys out one last time. And of course, we'll do it again in the morning. Maybe you guys can tune in the morning one last time. But we only got one or two more videos, including this one, to kind of get you guys updated. And that's exactly what we'll do. We'll really zoom in to try to get you guys a good idea of what's on the way. Okay. After we do that, we'll talk about the latest model guidance after Jamaica. Okay. For the Yucatan Peninsula. And then eventually this is going to get into the Gulf of Mexico, more than likely. How fast is this going to recurve? Is it going to recurve? Recurve as in move north and maybe impact areas of the U.S. A lot of people are starting to wonder about that. I'm going to talk about all the information we have, all the model guidance we have, all the scenarios, talk about why it could turn, the steering currents. I'm just going to try to explain this in a way where you guys, the audience, can understand. That is a huge goal of mine with this channel. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Thank you for the amazing support over the last several days and all the kind comments from any new viewers. Welcome. It's a very family type atmosphere here on this channel. There's nothing flashy at all with this channel. It's just pretty much straightforward. I do it out in my bedroom. Even got a cat behind me, as you can tell. So there's nothing too crazy about this channel. We just come on here and get very detailed. We look out for one another. We pray for one another. And with that being said, if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. We are praying for you folks in the Windward Islands with what just happened, and we're praying for you folks in Jamaica with what's to come. So let's get going here. So this is Major Hurricane Beryl. It technically is still a Category 4 hurricane. As of the last update, and we might have another update, but the last update still had this at 155 mile per hour high in Category 4. But I don't think it's a 155 mile per hour storm anymore. It's probably in the 140s, but that would still make it a Category 4 storm. So let's just call it that. All right, this is being impacted by wind shear now on the western side of the system. This was expected. So this is impacting the storm, allowing for a little bit of dry air to eat away at some of the convection on the western side of Hurricane Beryl. Okay, we also think that this is maybe undergoing an eye wall replacement cycle. There isn't a very cleared out eye anymore in the first place with this. Probably because it is going through that cycle, but also just because it's not as strong of a hurricane as it was this morning when it was a Category 5. Okay, so if you've been tuning in, one of the first things you'll notice from this satellite viewage here is the fact that we don't have a cleared out eye anymore, which tells us this is definitely not near as strong as it was probably this morning into the overnight hours last night. Okay, but you can still obviously see where the center of the storm is. You see the blacks and the whites. It's indicating still cold cloud tops, intense convection wrapping around that center of low pressure right here. The Dominican Republic getting lashed with those outer bands on the northern side of the hurricane, as this continues to race at about 20 to 23 miles per hour west-northwest. It's been moving about that same clip for a while now. It is racing. It's definitely not a slow-moving hurricane as of right now. So a wider look at this system. Wider vapor loop. Okay, you still got a nice outflow getting pulled here, but kind of the Tut interaction, okay, persistent kind of upper-level trough, which is kind of digging down into this region, is yanking this moist air kind of this way. Okay, but this is moving right into that Tut feature, which we'll talk about more later in the video. Don't want to talk about too much right now, but in general, this is still a very healthy hurricane. It's a Category 4 hurricane still. So we can't pretend that it's still not a strong hurricane. It's just in the process of weakening. And there could be a time frame between that eye wall replacement cycle and in encountering that southwesterly shear impacting the western side of this hurricane that it could undergo a period of moderate weakening. So it could weaken at a pretty moderate pace. But Jamaica here, you know, you guys are fine right now. Still got a little bit of time to prepare. But your the last full day to prepare was today. And I hope you guys certainly did that. This hurricane is moving at you. I mean, it looks like it's going right at you guys. Okay, so this is it. It's doing still well, but of course it is not as near perfect as it was last night. So a close look, and let's see if we have any updated information. Let this update. All right, so we don't have the technical 7:45, 8 p.m. update as of now. So right now it's still saying it's a 155 mile per hour hurricane, but folks, once again, I'll reiterate this. I think that when we get another update here, and probably in a matter of minutes to maybe 30 to 40 minutes, once again, we're missing the latest update. This will most likely get knocked down to the 140s, I would bet. Maybe not, but I would bet. Okay, so still, let's just call it, like I said, a Category 4 hurricane. We got tropical storm warnings up for the southern coastline of Hispaniola. They got hurricane watches up, okay, for areas of kind of the eastern side of the western side of Hispaniola, like Haiti. Okay, by the time it gets to about 2 a.m. tonight, still saying it's a Category 4, 145 mile per hour hurricane. From 2 a.m. Tonight, Wednesday morning, to 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, guys, this covers a lot of ocean. So this is probably going to make a landfall sometime just after lunchtime in Jamaica. And if you zoom in really closely, the center of the path from the National Hurricane Center actually has this making landfall. Okay, actually has this making landfall in the extreme most southerly portion of Jamaica. Kingston right here. Highly populated area for the southern sections of Jamaica. Most highly populated region of Jamaica is the southern sections of Jamaica. Kingston is going to get hit hard by this. Even if the center goes down here instead, okay, the entire northern section of this storm is going to slam. The inner and eye wall is going to hit the southern sections of Jamaica. Okay, we'll talk more about that here in a second. Okay, let's zoom back out. It's still saying it's going to hit Jamaica as a high-end Category 3 major hurricane, guys. Okay, after it moves past Jamaica, okay, the cone has it just south of the Cayman Islands. Still bringing impacts. You guys have hurricane warnings just like Jamaica. It's a Category 2 hurricane. By the time we get into 2 p.m. Thursday, 100 mile per hour Category 2 hurricane, there could be a period where this begins to strengthen again in the Western Caribbean, even though the cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center does not support that. It says it's going to make a landfall. It's going to definitely make a landfall in the Yucatan Peninsula as a hurricane. Belize City, you guys, I really think this is shifted far enough north where you guys won't see a whole lot of hefty impacts. But watch this. Tropical storm Friday afternoon, about to move back into the Gulf of Mexico. Well, it's about to move into the Gulf of Mexico. What I meant to say, it's about to move into a body of water again. 65 mile per hour tropical storm. Look how this gets bumped up to a 70 mile per hour tropical storm. So this is the first cone that we have seen where it actually has a re-strengthening into the Gulf of Mexico, the Bay of Campeche. Okay, so that is something to watch. And you zoom out, you now have this cone covering a good portion of extreme southern Texas, including like Corpus Christi, Brownsville. Okay, I expect this to tick even a little bit further north as we get into the overnight hours and as we're waking up tomorrow morning to do another video. Okay, here's your traditional look from the National Hurricane Center. We still just got the 5 p.m. update. Okay, what I want you to notice here, tropical storm force conditions extend further out on the northern side of the system than they do on the southern side. That is not good news for Jamaica. Okay, areas of, the Dominican Republic, even getting into Haiti, experiencing bands from this storm with tropical storm force conditions in these bands. Okay, but it's forecasting that M for the major hurricane to make landfall in the southern shorelines of Jamaica. Okay, so this is that traditional look. Okay, this is probably the thing you see the most out there, but I always like looking at Zoom Earth because you can zoom in. It's like mixing Google Maps with the tropics out there. Okay, so I want to show you guys this really quick right now, and I'm showing you this for a reason. Okay, it's saying as of the 5 p.m. update, so about a couple hours ago, this was a 943 millibar low pressure storm. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the short-term impacts, which this just means Jamaica, basically. Okay, so we'll start off, and I'm going to show you the H-half-A model and then the H-Wharf model because honestly, one shows the best to medium case scenario with this system, meaning lesser impacts. One shows the worst case scenario with this. Okay, and in fact, I'm going to see if we have a new run-in. Okay, and we do. So we have a new run-in. Okay, 18Z This was, the previous run I was just showing you was Z12Z. Okay, so initializing about the same, 942 millibar storm. But let's see if this ticks north. So at the end of the day, we're going to show you 2 model runs here. Okay, as this continues, you're going to get probably some hefty banding into extreme western Haiti. Here comes this system. First thing you'll notice, guys, is you see the number. See how it's beginning to rise? It's because it's getting impacted by that wind shear. It's really making this hurricane weaken. So I do think we'll be dealing with a weakening hurricane on approach to Jamaica. That's a lot different than dealing with a strengthening hurricane on approach to anywhere. Okay, I've chased a hurricane where it was weakening upon landfall, and I've chased a hurricane where it's strengthening upon landfall, and they both pack 2 totally different punches. Okay, this could be weakening, not trying to lessen the impacts of Jamaica. But yeah, I think this will expand a little bit further out than this, the rainfall shield and things like that. But folks, this model, as we're getting into 1, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, you got a 968 based off this model run millibar hurricane. This would support a major hurricane, Category 3 hurricane, just south of the southern shorelines of Jamaica. Okay, Kingston right into here, you're getting hit by the inner to outer eye wall, probably getting 80 to 100 mile per hour winds. Okay, this continues, and just the entire northern flank, northern section of this storm, eye wall, basically grinds all the way down the entire southern coastline of Jamaica. Okay, and then it heads on out as we are getting into tomorrow night. I mean, it moves in fast and it moves out fast, but when it's moving in, it is going to pack one heck of a punch. Okay, now let's look at the latest 18Z H-Wharf model. Okay, it's initializing this probably a little bit too strong. This is the worst case scenario. This model has done decent so far. This doesn't have this weakening really much at all, which I think could be wrong, but I'm just showing you a worst case scenario, which I just showed you before I think is the best case scenario as far as less impacts. This has still a Category 4 hurricane, and it weakens a little bit here as we're getting, it has the position about the same, okay? The good news is the H-Wharf model was showing this just ramming right into Kingston. Now it's a little bit further south. The bad news is it's still a Category 4 hurricane as this entire northern eye wall, once again, I'll say it, literally grinds across the entire southern areas of Jamaica, the more highly populated areas of Jamaica. Okay, somebody I believe said like 1.2 million people live. I don't know if they said in Kingston or if just in the southern sections of Jamaica, but holy moly, guys. If something like this was to happen, even if the actual eye of the hurricane didn't went over and this entire northern eye wall just literally went through, honestly, you almost rather, guys, you almost rather this just, let's back it up here. You almost rather this just go just like this, right over the island and then move on out. Okay, you honestly don't want to see it do like this. Okay, that means, I would say more areas just get completely slammed by what I think is going to be the more intense northern eye wall of this hurricane. So I would say you almost want to say if something like this low pressure just being just south of the southern shorelines of Jamaica just goes completely zonal to the coastline, you almost want to say that that's worse. Okay, but man, no doubt you guys are going to see all-out hurricane conditions Wednesday afternoon, and then this heads on out. Okay, now you're talking about wind speeds. Okay, and let's go over the latest one that we have, and we do have the latest one. Okay, as we continue to move forward, these are potential wind gusts. Okay, this isn't consistent wind speeds. This is potential wind gust. Okay, as we get to about tomorrow mid to late morning, in the far eastern sections of Jamaica, you're beginning to get 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts. As you start to make your way into midday to early afternoon, Kingston, all right, you're just north of that inner eye wall, which, folks, you're seeing 100 to 120 mile per hour winds in that inner eye wall. But you're just north of it. Okay, you're getting probably 70 to 80 to 90 mile per hour wind gusts, but you're just north. But this little extension, that's extending out on the southern section of Jamaica, you don't want to extend out into this eye wall. Okay, but obviously it's landmass. You can't tell it to, you know, go back inland. But you get what I'm saying. Okay, it does hit the southern sections of Jamaica right here. Which if you look at Google Maps, you folks in like, and I'm going to butcher some names here. Okay, Rocky Point, Salt River, Lioneltown, maybe that's the way you pronounce it, Portland Cottage, Maho Gardens. But this entire area, I'm really concerned about. There's Kingston right here. But I'm concerned about this entire area. This little area extends outward. Okay, watch out Freetown, Longville Park. I'm really concerned about that area right in here. Well over 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts are likely. And then this heads on out. Okay, so if we look, see if we got a new update. If we look, and I kind of talked about this in the beginning of the video. Hurricane force wind gusts, as you can tell, sustained, extend a little bit further out on the northern side of this hurricane than the southern. Okay, but unfortunately the northern side is what's going to really hit Jamaica the hardest. Okay, tropical storm force wind gusts is really spread out further on the north to northeastern side of the storm. Okay, so no doubt an all-out hurricane type conditions is heading right towards Jamaica, whether the actual center of circulation hits or not. Okay, so this is the chance to see hurricane force wind gusts over 74 miles per hour or higher. Okay, between now and I think 2 p.m. Well, no, this is between now and Sunday, July the 7th. Okay, so it's now up to about a 60 to 70% chance. For example, in Kingston, 60 to 70% chance to see hurricane force wind conditions. Okay, but you're almost to that 70 to 80% chance and that extension on the southern shorelines of Jamaica right into here. Okay, but no doubt you're going to see hurricane force conditions. Okay, it's not even a matter of a percentage. I mean, it's just a when is it going to happen. Okay, and as far as that rainfall, okay, we finally got an updated graphic here, even though it was still upgraded like 12 hours ago. But locally, a foot of rain is possible, you know, in this section right here. You know, these higher mountaintops right here in what I believe eastern sections of Jamaica, Blue Mountains National Park. This area is probably going to get the most rain because all this rain is going to get forced up to these higher elevations right in here. Okay, so that is where you could get over a foot of rain. Okay, so that's the latest information that we have on Jamaica. By the time we wake up and do this tomorrow, guys, this will be impacting you guys. Okay, but if we take a look at past Jamaica, okay, GFS has this making a landfall in southern Jamaica, right over Jamaica pretty much. Seems like I've said Jamaica about 1 million times over the last 15 minutes. But as this continues to move forward, it looks like, don't focus on the low pressure on the GFS, focus on the track. I know I've said that 1 million times over the last few videos. The global models are doing terrible with initiation with the strength of this storm. Okay, this gets into the Western Caribbean. I think there's a potential this begins to strengthen again the Western Caribbean. GFS doesn't really buy that. Okay, but we're going to have another day where this is just kind of out in the Western Caribbean, a day where this really isn't impacting anybody except maybe the Cayman Islands. Okay, this continues. This moves almost due west, east to west at some point because of a ridge that builds over the southeast. Makes landfall most likely as a hurricane into the Yucatan Peninsula. Slips on the Gulf of Mexico side of the Yucatan Peninsula. And then what is it going to do here? We get into the weekend. We're getting into Saturday morning. What is it going to do? It starts to inch north right here and really slow down. And all of a sudden, you got a strengthening storm system moving into extreme southern sections of Texas and northern sections of Mexico. Okay? And it actually moves into Texas. Right now, it's a hurricane. Next Monday morning, we're still talking about this. Beryl, we are still breaking this down. In southern Texas, it is a hurricane. Okay, and brings a lot of rain. All right, you look at the run prior, it was a little bit further north. Run prior to that, it was hardly nothing. So we got to watch this, guys. We do. If we look at the latest icon from tonight, I can't even look at the euro. It's just doing so bad with this system. It's not even worth looking at. You look at the icon, it has a worst case scenario with a rapidly strengthening hurricane this coming Sunday, heading right towards like Houston and Lake Charles. Okay, this thing completely makes a full-fledged turn north and heads right towards the U.S. Okay, if we take a look at some of these hurricane models. All right, this is the HFA. Here it comes. Let's see if we have it. No, we don't. It doesn't go that far out. HFA makes that landfall Friday morning into the Yucatan Peninsula. By the time we get into Saturday, well, Friday night, this is back over the Gulf. It gets into the Gulf of Mexico, and here it goes. Begins to strengthen this. Okay, strengthening it again, strengthen. Man, this gets all the way down to a sub 970 millibar hurricane after getting shredded in the Yucatan Peninsula. It begins to strengthen over the Gulf of Mexico and kind of ends up in a place where the GFS is showing it. Okay, if you look at the HWRF model, okay, HWRF model, all right, this hits the Cayman Islands pretty hard, especially the southern Cayman Islands. Okay, this continues, makes landfall as a Category 3 or 4 hurricane, okay, in the Yucatan Peninsula. When the National Hurricane Center is saying, hey, this is only going to be a Category 1, the HWRF model is saying a Category 3, Category 4. Weakens, gets back over a body of water into the Gulf of Mexico. Look how that number's beginning to tank again. 967, 65, 60, sub 960 millibar hurricane. And this is definitely your worst case scenario. That is the Texas coastline. This is a rapidly strengthening hurricane following something like what the Yukon Cornelius. I wish we were talking about winter weather. But what the icon is showing. So, you know, one of the last things we'll look at as far as tracks here is the European ensemble. What I want to note here is a lot, and this makes up 51 members. Okay, a lot of these members are initializing too weak, so those weaker low pressures are going to go further south, going to go more west and just further south. Okay, the stronger members that are initializing are going to go further north. That's why I think Jamaica, even though it looks like most of these L's are kind of going south of Jamaica, this is initializing wrong for the most part. And honestly, this isn't even really worth looking at much. But I do want to show it to you because it is an ensemble run and show you how abrupt. It looks like all these are heading right towards Mexico, right? But look how abrupt some of these members turn. And then all of a sudden we have just under, I would say about 30 to 40 of these members, 40% of these members, hitting northern Mexico through Texas into Louisiana. I would say more about 25 to 30% of the members. And some of these members, guys, are very, very strong hurricanes. Some of them just tropical storms. But guys, this is something we got to watch. Okay. Now, the system is encountering wind shear. And let's see if we got an update from the National Hurricane Center. We don't. I can't catch an update to save my life, guys. But we don't have an update. But either way, I mean, I'm expecting it to be down to like a 150, 145, 140 mile per hour Category 4 hurricane. I got to stop focusing in on that so much. Category 4 hurricane. But you see these highlighted colors in the orange and red. This is where it's encountering that wind shear. And you see that shear right on top of the northern to northwesternly side of this system. That is a tut blasting this system with shear out the west. So the western side of this storm is going to be getting hit by shear tomorrow morning as it approaches Jamaica. How tough does this hang as it's getting impacted by shear? Probably undergoing that eye wall replacement cycle right now. It might not be. It's always tough to actually verify if that's happening until we get recon data and the hurricane hunters get into that and really confirm that the inner eye wall is collapsing and the outer eye wall is becoming the new inner eye wall. But regardless, this is still getting impacted by that wind shear with a tut feature going in like this. Winds are kind of flowing and rapidly slamming this system right into here. But we do think that shear potentially does level off. And what happens, guys, is here is your little wave breaker right in here, okay? You can see the streamlines right in here dip down. You see how they're bending that way? Come down here, and then they shoot off like this, okay? That is our persistent upper level trough. You call it a tut, T-U-T-T. A wave breaker, you can call it unfavorable trade winds. Either way, this is bringing wind shear. What's happening is, okay, the outflow from this hurricane, okay, is actually ripping this, is going to split this tut in half. You're going to get a segment over here and then a segment over here that kind of heads off in this region. So it actually splits this tut in half, okay? And it actually sacrifices almost like some of its strength while it does that because it's going to have to run into the shear that the tut is creating, Okay, so if you kind of, there's probably going to be a good way to show this here. You kind of keep going here, it kind of splits it. Okay, the tut kind of heads off into this way and it's down here. Okay, but you can barely see it here, but it is splitting it in half. So as it does so, it weakens the system, but it could begin to strengthen right into here as it, I think, begins to encounter a favorable upper wind pattern again. Now it's going to hit land, it's going to weaken, but there is, I think, going to be another period of favorable upper winds as it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. As you can see, you got pretty much a nice flow wrapping around this system, a nice anticyclonic flow right over the Gulf of Mexico. As this is turning like this, we've explained this before, winds are being dispersed out in the upper levels in the opposite direction. This is helping to, like we explained, move air out. This allows for more air to rise, more air gets pushed out. This allows for more air to rise. In tune, rising air causes more shower and storm action, more convection. So this may start to begin to ventilate very well into the Gulf of Mexico, and we could potentially have the re-strengthening in the Gulf of Mexico. It's just trying to figure out where it goes. Okay, and talking about where it goes, let's explain the steering currents. Why is this moving the direction it's moving right now? Okay, if you look at it right now, this is probably a better way to look at it. If you look at it right now, it is moving west-northwest. Okay, it's kind of has this motion to it. It almost looks like it's going to split the gap between Cuba and Jamaica. And guys, this might move further north than what we're thinking, but it's definitely moving further west. It's moving more west than north, but I would say west-northwest is the motion. Okay, so we go back to this. The reason it's doing that is because of this weak ridging you see right into here. So flow around ridging goes like this. Okay, and ridging being indicated in this orange. That's weak ridging right in here. This is more so weak ridging. This was a weakness where a trough kind of broke down the ridge up here for a period. But it's going to try to recover. But anyways, we're not worried about that. Okay, the system, this is our Hurricane Beryl, missed this weakness earlier on. Okay, and the majority of the reason why is because of this ridge, this high pressure that is really rebuilt, or it's going to rebuild into the area. It's already doing so. For example, today across the southeast, it was beautiful weather. Tomorrow, you'll notice that it will substantially increase as far as the heat and humidity as a ridge builds in. Okay, that's the ridge that's building in right now. Okay, and if you keep this in motion, it's following the flow around that ridge. Now, there is a weakness opening up right here, but this thing is already moving this way. Okay, it's not going to just do like this and turn and go that way. Okay, mainly because the flow around this ridging is going like this. Okay, so it's not going to try to fight up against that current and turn around just because there's a weakness over here. Just explaining everything where you guys can understand here, right? So we get all this back off your screen, and we'll have to get every bit of it off here. And we keep this in motion. What I want you to notice is you got ridging right over the southeast. It's getting into Thursday, 4th of July. Okay, this is still being influenced by the ridging up here. Okay, so you still got kind of a current kind of going like this. Therefore, our system right here can feel this. So that's the direction it's heading. It's still kind of going this direction because it's feeling the flow around this weaker ridge right here, stronger ridge of high pressure up here. Okay, if you're wondering what blues are, that indicates lower pressure, which is why it's blue over our Hurricane Beryl right here. Now watch what happens after this. Watch how this orange disappears, and you start to see an area of blue show up here. You see that? Now this is getting into Friday. That is a trough that's going to break down this ridge over the eastern and central U.S. Trough digs down. This creates a weakness right in here. And this is why Beryl begins to stop moving more so west and then begins to start moving due northwest. Well, probably not that much, but it begins to start moving like this. Okay, if it feels this weakness fast enough and if this is a stronger system still right here, then it'll move north faster because a stronger hurricane wants to gain latitude more. It feels more of the upper wind currents in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Weaker system feels more of those lower to mid-level winds. Stronger system just is going to try to get poleward. Okay, so how strong is this system going to be? More importantly, I would say right into this area. I think that this area right here is huge in the Western Caribbean. to what happens as this gets into the Gulf of Mexico. But that is a clear weakness. No more ridging. That's heading on out. Clear weakness for this to head on this way. Okay? And then because that flow goes around the trough like this, okay, it actually, if this thing digs down enough, it could squeeze to the right side, to the east side of this trough, and actually cook and start to go due north and eventually northeast. Okay, I mean, it's worth mentioning. Okay, and you can see it on the GFS. Okay, it just doesn't get pulled north in time. Okay, but it's going to hit somebody, whether it's Mexico, Texas, or Louisiana. It's going to hit somebody again and make a, what is this? That would be a fourth landfall. Okay, a fourth landfall is inevitable. So that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Y'all stay safe out there. Let's see if we can check one time, see if we got another update. Come on, come on. Nope, we don't. So God bless all y'all. Y'all have a wonderful night. Stay safe. I hope you're getting prepared out there in Jamaica, and I'll talk to you soon. We'll do it all again. One more time in the morning. One more time for you folks in Jamaica. We'll continue to break this thing down for you folks in the Yucatan Peninsula and, of course, in Mexico and the rest of the U.S. Talk to you again soon, guys.